Well, hello and welcome. Welcome, my friends, to the Songwriter's Journal. This is episode number 11. I'm Rob Edenbow. I'm a singer-songwriter. I write what I consider to be modern folk songs, and this is my channel. This is where I share my newest creations and the process that lead to their first becoming ideas and developing into something like a song. More than that, um, I'm sharing my experiences while I transition from being the working dad on his back porch, which is where we are right now. This is Marshall. I don't know if you can see him or not. My other dog Serenity's inside in the air conditioning. But anyway, transitioning from being this working dad on his back porch, picking and a grinning, to being a musician who's out there playing gigs. And that's where I envision myself going. I've already started with a few gigs, and I'm going to be posting some live concert footage here shortly from the gig I did this weekend, and I'll share some of that experience with you here, what I thought of the gig, and maybe you go and look up that concert footage and see if you agree with my interpretation of myself. So anyway, about this video series, I've been publishing this thing at least once a month, usually twice. So the material and updates are coming at a steady pace anyway. So please hit the subscribe button and like the video. I sure would like having you guys along for the ride here. So today I'm kind of going low tech. It's taken me a while to get this video ready to shoot for you. So I am reading off a script. It's on paper, written in pencil, as opposed to teleprompter-ish stuff with a computer that I experimented with in the last one or two videos. It's been a slow summer. I've not been motivated, and I've kind of been fighting my own demons, to be sure. Including some depression and just struggling to force myself to get out of the house and to be around other people. So for several weeks, I've just been going to jams or open mics and really not performing. It's just having a dread of being around others, to be honest with you. And the whole the whole experience has just been an inner war with myself, and sometimes it's tantamount to panic. So I can turn that kind of thing off for work. I gotta be honest, I'm not myself at work. That's this business persona. When I have gigs, that's the guy that shows up, the business guy. But when I go to open mics or any kind of jam with friends, that's kind of the guy who's off guard, I guess, and more vulnerable. So anyway, when I first began doing these open mics, it was really the moment right after COVID had, we'd just opened up, and you were allowed finally to go back into a public place and perform. We weren't allowed to even use any equipment like PA systems. It was all acoustic, and you had to be X amount of feet away from anybody, and nobody was allowed to stand or mingle. But at the time, everybody was very kind to one another, very polite and respectful. Since then, the crowds have magnified exponentially, and not all the people are always nice to one another. Sadly, not all the musicians are nice to one another, and in a lot of the more crowded situations, they're kind of tripping over one another. I had 2 gigs this summer at public venues. I do perform once a month at the nursing home where I work. That's a volunteer thing I do, and I really love it, singing for the dementia unit, folks that are really in the advanced stages of dementia. And I do that in the evenings, usually on a Friday evening. But this summer I did 2 out, one was in a bar and one was in a coffee shop. The bar was a 3-hour gig. Both were outdoors. At the first one, the one that was in the bar outdoors, it was, I felt I kept screwing up anyway. I thought really the last hour sucked, to be perfectly frank. Um, I know at one point I tried doing Wagon Wheel. I love that song, and I do it all the time, and I've been doing it for many years. It was one of the first songs I ever played with my family and friends, but here at the gig, I couldn't remember the melody. I started playing, and it just wasn't come to me, and I did not know how to get it. You know, it wasn't there, and you know, I just kept trying to force myself, thinking I can do this, I know it, and yeah, I had to just tank it and say something stupid like, "Oh, you all heard that song enough times. I'll do something else." Not a very funny joke, especially because I like the song and I like doing it, and it really had me upset that I couldn't do it for them. The other thing about that gig that was a notable flop was that I'd prepared about 10 to 12 songs for each of the 3 hours that I was going to be performing, and it wasn't enough. I certainly know a lot more than that. I have like 5 or 6 hours worth of material. It's just you focus on what you're going to do at your gig, and you practice those the hardest, and the other ones you kind of put on the back burner until you're ready for the gig. At least at my stage in the game, that's how I've chosen to address it. So I was pulling some songs out that I wasn't fully prepared to do, and I felt that they were even worse than the ones that I had prepared and wasn't doing as well as I felt I should be doing. The worst part of it was 8 minutes before I was scheduled to be done for the night, I broke a guitar string. I did have another guitar with me, but it was out in the car. It wasn't right there at the stage. So, you know, it would have took me 10 minutes to go get the guitar and get it set up and plugged in, tuned, and so I thought, oh, maybe I can do a quick guitar string and do 1 or 2 more songs, and that was a disaster. The pegs down at the bottom, these things down at the bottom of the bridge here, the peg for the string that I was trying to change, it kept popping out, and it would go flying on the ground, and it was dark by that time, so I almost wound up losing that bridge peg, or I'm not even sure what the proper name for those little pegs are. So I called it quits. Anyway, I felt like a failure. But I gotta say, the people that were there in the audience, and there was probably 2 dozen at any given moment, even towards the end there was probably at least a dozen there, and they all said good things. Nobody said one unkind thing, nobody said anything critical, and shout out to my buddy, one of my friends had showed up with his wife, and they were there for at least the first 2 hours, hour and a half, and you know, he said that he thought I had done a pretty good job. I don't know, I am my own worst enemy. So the second gig, that was just 2-3 days ago from the time I'm shooting this video. So for this one, it was much closer. First of all, that first gig was probably an hour and 15 minutes, hour and a half drive from where I live. This gig is much closer. I did spend more time preparing for the gig, just practicing harder, longer, focusing on just the songs I was going to do, and I prepared more songs for the gig. I planned on at least 14 hours for each of the hour-long sets. There's only 2 hours for this particular gig. I did focus on the songs that I had the most trouble with, or felt that I needed the most work on. I tried to analyze that and figure out which parts of which songs, or which songs in general. I picked a new song to learn, and I picked it from songs that I was already starting to practice and knew that I was going to develop into cover songs that I could do at gigs. and I felt like, oh, this is really grabbable. It's right there in my striking range. The hardest part was really learning the lyrics. So the last week or so before the gig, I really buckled down on that, and happy to say that I did a good job with it at the gig. I was kind of happy with that. Overall, I have to say the gig itself really did go better this time. I took my phone and I set it up for video, brought an external microphone, the same setup that I use for these videos. I set that up for the gig, and I filmed the first hour. And even though there was some stuff in there that, especially at the time, I felt I was just trashing and did a horrible job with, I watched the playback of the video, and I gotta say, even though it's not great, I'm gonna share it. So after this video goes live, I'll be posting that again. I think I mentioned earlier, this live footage. I don't know if it's a whole hour, but it's pretty close to an hour's worth of live concert footage of me. You can mostly just see me on the stage. You can kind of see some people coming and going, and there's a window behind me. You can see the reflection of some of the crowd. There was at least 24 people there the whole time, and they all, again, they said good things, and again, I felt like some of the songs really weren't so good at all. I will make a special mention of Tennessee Waltz. I'm going to be brave, and I'm going to post it. At the time, I felt like I did the worst job ever. I could not figure out what was wrong. I was trying to troubleshoot it without stopping, and I was trying to look confident, like this is correct, and I was just hoping I could figure out what was wrong and get it fixed. I could not. I could not figure out what was wrong. Driving home, I did finally figure it out because it just kept replaying in my mind. I really felt lousy about that. But it's a 3/4 song. It's a waltz, Tennessee Waltz. So I know at least 3 different patterns that I use for strumming when I'm doing waltz time, and I picked the wrong one. The BPMs were the same, and it's just the feel of the whole thing was different because the strum pattern was different, even though it was, again, it was the correct time signature, it was the correct BPMs, the speed of the song was correct. But it forced me to, on the fly, have to, what do they call it, rearrange the vocals, the melody itself, and I thought I did a horrible job at the time, and I was embarrassed and sad and frustrated with myself, but I kept the poker face and smile, and people clapped their hands and told me I did a good job, and I said thank you, even though inside my head I'm just like, oh God, you guys are being too kind and you're pitying me. But you know, looking back, okay, it wasn't so bad that I can't share it. Maybe you think differently when you watch it. Maybe give me some feedback then. Yeah, was Tennessee Waltz a total bomb? Or you know, am I just being too hard on myself? I don't know. Anyway, I think it was most of the stuff I really wanted to say. That's honestly the end of what I have scripted. I do have a song for you today. It's called The Dancer on the Waves. Usually when I write a song and perform it for these videos, I try to do it in a very short period of time so that the song remains raw and it's in development. A lot of times it's been the same day as I shoot the video. Was the day that I basically wrote the song, maybe a day before. This song, I got to admit, I think I first wrote it, the first draft of it, a week ago. I did not touch it for about a week, and then yesterday I pulled it out, planning to shoot this video. However, I wound up using the time to rewrite the song. So this is, as far as I can remember, without fact-checking myself, this is going to be the first time I've done one of these songwriter journals where the song isn't 100% raw. I've done some where I did not shoot it the same day, and I had some time to give it a couple extra reps. you know, maybe I wrote it and filmed it a week later, but this is, as far as I know, the first time I did a rewrite uh, before filming, which means it's been refined and therefore a little bit against the grain, against my goals of what I want this video series to be. That said, I'm not at all ashamed. I'm liking this song. I'm liking it a lot. It's based on things that people have shared with me, so it's not really any kind of personal experience, or I mean, it's not something that happened to me, and it's not about any real person in real life. Matter of fact, it's not about a human being, it's about ideas. So the dancer in this song, I'm portraying that dancer as a woman, a muse, if you will, but it's not somebody that I'm in love with or ever been in love with. It's not a somebody. It is the ideas that come along with a relationship where you've got somebody that means a lot to you, but they're caught up in themselves and they are experiencing self-destruction, and you're watching them go. So yes, my life story does experience something that's similar to that. It is in no way my reality. The song is a deliberate attempt to be sad and to create a situation where I'm having kind of like a hallucinatory experience and seeing things that, I don't know if fantasy is the right word, but where you kind of make somebody into something that they're not, and you see it vanish because it was never there to begin with. You kind of created it in your own mind. So that's what I'm going for here. Some of the imagery was some things that I wouldn't have created myself, but things that people had shared with me. Not any one particular person. Multiple people have shared these things, and in particular, I'm currently reading kids book series similar to Harry Potter. I think it's called something like The Keeper of the Gates or something, Keeper of the Lost Cities, something like that. I don't know, there's like 8 or 9 of these books, and I've probably gotten through about 6 of them. They're written from the female perspective, and they include a lot of things like sparkles. I know I mentioned the word at least yeah, it's still in here. The word's in here at least once, as something that you know, exists in the fantasy world of a lot of young ladies. It would never be something I would think of. It is also something that I know at least a couple of people have shared with me as things that turn up in their dreams, or just when they're having an interest in something. That's something that they would, like a word they would use to describe what interested them about it. I'm a nurse, so I do work around a lot of women, so a lot of the conversations turn around a lady's perspective on things. So those are some of the things that went to play in creating this song. Again, it was very deliberate, and it wasn't like somebody shared a story with me and I put it into a song. These were a culmination of different things that I had gathered from different sources, and it got some editing. There were things that I put into this originally. Of course, I love fantasy and mythology, folklore, magic, dragons. Some of that stuff had been in the original drafts of this song. Most of that's been edited out. I felt like that really wasn't what I was going for here. And the original song was actually a pretty positive kind of love song sort of thing. And I knew all along that wasn't what I wanted. so in rewriting the song, I definitely made it much more sad. Again, this is about a person in the water, in the ocean, so the idea of drowning was something that came to me, and the word itself appeared multiple times in some of the original drafts. I got a lot of that out. I know repetition can serve a valuable purpose in songs, but at least at this stage, I didn't want to keep saying that word over and over again. But it's in there. It's in there at least. It's in. I can see. I'm looking at the script, the lead sheet here, the words and the chords, and I can see it's in the chorus. It's the last word of the chorus. Just glancing through it, I don't see it anywhere else. Just skimming over it here. It might be in there a second or third time, but bear in mind it was in there a lot more. But yeah, again, the idea is being self-consumed and not necessarily in a critical. I'm not trying to criticize anyone. Again, nobody can be seen as a muse for this song. This song is completely a figment of imagination, and it was designed all along to be just something I'm making up. I got bugs out here because I got lights on me, so of course I'm going to attract them, right? Anyway, let's get this song here for you here. Barefoot dancer on the waves, been here before, my story's the same, still couldn't tell you from where she came. And the fog was lifted as the sun went down. She took all my nightmares and she turned them into a dance. Hey, it's sea, I wanna dance with you. I wanna dance with you. I wanna dance and I don't wanna stop till we drown. Snapped out of frozen mud. The earth, she gave me a second chance. Made me relearn my truth and dance. When I took her hand, she pulled me into the waves. Felt the forgiving waters wash away my guilt and shame in the waves. I wanna dance with you. I wanna dance with you. I wanna dance, don't wanna stop till we drown. This is where I feel like there should be some sort of instrumental break, but we ain't gonna go there yet. Moonlight sparkles on the surf as she walks away from me. She disappears at sea. Each lunar phase circles round, but she's never to be found. She's vanished as her own waves come down. I'm getting bombarded by cicadas. I'm struggling to read my words here in the dim light. I wanna dance with you. I wanna dance with you. I wanna dance, don't wanna stop till we drown. All right, I gotta tell you, as far as the chorus goes, the line "I want to dance with you," That's something that I'm kind of debating with here. Do I want to keep it, I want to dance with you, I'm not a dancer, or do I want to turn it into something like I want to watch you dance, or I want to see you dance, I love to see you dance. I don't know. You know, those are the struggles I face here with words in any given song, but this one in particular, because my truth is far from being a dancer. Quite the opposite. You don't want to see me dance. Anyway, Marshall here's telling me that it's time to feed the dogs, so I'm going to call it a night, and hopefully I didn't make this video too long. Thank you all for tuning in and watching my Songwriter's Journal here on YouTube. Like I say, please please continue to watch. Please hit subscribe. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to do it twice a month, and I'd like to do it more often. I know in August I think I only had one posted, and again, it's due to some struggles I was facing. So please like the video, and I'd really love to have you along. I appreciate you being here. Until next time, love and peace, y'all.